hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another video. This is my summer wrap up, and I'm going to go through the books I read in July and August. There'll be a caveat for August, but we'll come to it soon, just because I didn't do a dedicated video for July and it's September now, so I thought I'll just mash them together. Will I be quick? We shall see. But we'll obviously start off with the August books. I did read 4 books in August. I had one DNF and the other one I gave to my sister after reading it. And this came out to 950 pages and 16.16 hours of audiobook listening, which was sort of, I guess the average was about 4 for most of the months that I was kind of still at uni, physically being there. I have more thoughts on the books in my July read or unhaul video, which you can see on my channel. I'll try to remember to link it. It was meant to be my 5-star manifestation video. It wasn't, but let's get to the books. First book I read was Strange Houses by Yuketsu, and this is translated from Japanese by Jim Ryan. I loved Strange Pictures, which I read earlier in the year, so when this came out I was like, day one, getting it, thank you very much. And I did enjoy this because I gave this 3.75 stars. It's basically following the author and his dialogues with a friend who says he wants to buy this house, and he gets sent the floor plans and he sends it to another one of his friends, and their friend is like, there's something fishy here, there's something odd, and then we follow that sort of storyline, and a lot of the book is dialogue between the author and other characters, and we go through that floor plan and then a few more afterwards as well, and they are sort of mini stories in their own way, but they're all connected to the same sort of plot line, which is a little bit different to this, where all the pictures are sort of their own standalone stories, and then at the end they all come together, where this more so follows along. But it's still interesting that you do get the diagrams of the different floor plans, and then like I said, a lot of it is basic dialogue between characters, which makes it a very, very fast and quick read, and so I would so recommend it for that. I felt like maybe I was expecting a little bit more because of how much I love Strange Pictures, and it maybe left me wanting maybe, and sometimes when you're reading it and you're like, they jump to these conclusions, I'm like, how did you get there? And I wanted maybe a little bit more of the slower build up, which was prevalent in Strange Pictures, but still it is very, very fun. It's such an enjoyable reading experience, these books, and just it just encapsulates you basically, and you just have to keep flicking the pages. So yeah, don't really have that many more thoughts because I don't want to spoil anything, but it's really enjoyable and I would so recommend it, but it didn't live up to my personal hype that I had placed on it, considering the first book I read by him. So yeah, still great though. I then read Mayfly by CJ Lead, and I was really expecting to love this. I don't know, I just felt like there was just something in the start of it, I was just really encapsulated by it, but it didn't end up that way, and it ended up with a 2.25 star rating. It follows Mayfly, the main character, and she is living in LA, and she works as the performer for Elsa in, I think it's called the Disney America Land, I can't remember. It's not that, but it's the park that's next to the main big park. I can't remember the name anyway. And she is being Elsa there, and obviously she's very popular because of that. It's never explicitly said what the park is and who these characters are, but you know who they are. And it talks about sort of LA and the secrets there, and how it's sort of a little bit fake, but there's also this underbelly as well, and the history of LA. And the person she works with is Kate, who portrays Anna, and they're sort of best friends. And Kate's brother Gideon is recently come to LA to play for a hockey team, and he's a famous hockey player. And then something starts a little bit between them, but it's a little bit enemies in a way, first of all. And Maeve is a very interesting character. She's very astute and picks up on these little details and dives into things and goes on tangents and stuff like that, which were interesting to start, but then it just got a little bit a little bit annoying. Told by her grandmother, who she lives with, that she is like her in a sense, and her grandmother was like a famous like Hollywood like star, and everyone loved her, basically like a darling, and how she needs to keep this like wolf inside of her and not let it get out and let people see. And then like it delves into like her finding this weird like doll and like going to different sort of like parties and like the underbelly of LA and stuff like that, and it just like spirals a little bit. I felt like it was interesting to start, but then it just got very like annoying and a bit strange, and it definitely lost me from around like the 60% onwards. And yeah, I just felt it was just a bit gruesome and stuff. I didn't really like it, but I did quite like the exploration of like female bad guys in books, and how quite a lot of people think that, oh, they need to have a reason for doing these bad actions, where like maybe we don't question it as much as if it's a man doing it, or thinking that way. And I felt like that was explored well, but a lot of the book was just a bit not for me, but I know quite a few people do love it. I got kind of the recommendation from Katie Colson because I like love her videos, but a lot of the times I don't feel like our tastes actually match up that well. But anyways, I wouldn't recommend it. I didn't like it, but some people might. I did give it to my sister because she loves watching Katie as well, and she might enjoy it more than me, so it's got. Then I read Perfection by Vincenzo Lateranico, and this is translated from Italian by Sophie Hughes. This I gave 2 stars too. This is one of the worst books this year, I think. So many people have loved it, giving it 5 stars. Like, it's been great for them, which I'm so happy. It just wasn't for me. It's following Tom and Anna, and they're like expats living in Berlin, like scenes and like the club scenes and drugs and weird like sexual encounters in some sense as well. And they're very like millennial when they sort of like they grew up with the internet, and they turn this like love for internet and like graphic design and stuff like that into their jobs. But now they're sort of experiencing sort of like the monotony of life and trying to find that next big break and a spark and like enjoyment in like their lives, which they're not really getting anymore. And I felt like that was interesting, and some parts a little bit like relatable and sort of like this internet age, and also sort of like performative action, find like travel and new places, but trying like it's very difficult to disconnect your life from the internet and social media and the good and bad of it, like trying to find more from your life. But I just felt like it was just so monotonous and boring, and like the main characters I just didn't enjoy really being with. They just sort of felt less like rich-ish people that could afford to do these things, and I just couldn't like connect. And yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't really like the reading experience of it. I didn't really like the story. I didn't really care for it. I mean, there were definitely some good parts and things that have stuck with me, and sort of how like in quite a lot of like expat communities, in some sense, the English is used as like a lingua franca between them, and even though that's not their first language, they all sort of know parts of it, so that's what they communicate in. And how like as a native English speaker, it's something I probably take for granted if I was to travel places where I do want to do. That was quite interesting, and parts about social media and like trying to find the meaning of life in a way in this digital age. But yeah, on the whole, I did not like this book, and I personally wouldn't recommend it, but maybe if you've experienced some of the things that they sort of go through, then you might enjoy it. But yeah, did not like that, and it will be gone. Then I DNF'd The Killing Sense by Sam Blake at around 51%. So I'm not gonna rate this. If I would, I'd probably, I guess, a 3. It's not uninteresting. I was like here for it. I did kind of want to know what happened, but at the same time I didn't fully feel like it was gonna really add anything extra to my reading experience, or like reading in general in some sense. I'm sorry I can't remember the names, but it's following an Irish woman who gets like, unbeknownst to her in a way, wins a competition to go and like make perfume and like visit Paris for like a week or so. And so she goes there, and she's just trying to like enjoy her time, but her ex-husband, who is the father of her daughter, abusive, and she thinks that maybe he's like back in town or like following her, and she's getting like these weird like pictures and stuff sent to her. And also in Paris there's been we're following like different characters in a sense, and one of them is a woman whose friend has like gone missing, so she's trying to work out what happened to her. And in the city, people with red hair, like women, have been like found like dead or murdered in the police case, and like trying to connect the dots and like, is it a serial killer that's like targeting redheads? And the main character, or one of the main characters, the Irish woman, she is a redhead, and the friend that disappeared also recently dyed her hair to red, so maybe like she's the next target or something. So it's interesting, but I didn't feel the need to finish it, and it was probably going to be around about a 3-star as well. But I would recommend it, I would say, if that is sort of your genres and stuff, but it's not fully mine anymore. I feel like I wasn't really craving like a mystery thrillery book, so I thought it would be best to DNF it, because I didn't really want to read something that was just going to be another 3-star, especially with some of the disappointments within the month. Finally, for July, I read Martyr by Cafe Akbar. I read and also listened simultaneously with the audiobook, and the narrator was so good at like narrating the story, so I would so recommend that as a tandem or either or, basically. But this is following Cyrus, and it starts with him like being, I think, like having a premonition in some sort of like a weird dream, and then he decides to like be sober from alcohol and drug addictions, and that's like a tiny bit, and then it goes like a few years, maybe 1 year, I think, maybe after that event at university, I think, and it's following him from onwards. And it does deal with a lot, this book. I feel like it does do it well. He wants to write a book about martyrdom, and he explores this like massively throughout the book, and how like different martyrs through history and what they did before dying, and trying to like make your life mean something, and also trying to be like on the right side of history in a sense before your death. And he explores like his relationship with Z, his like on and off friend boyfriend, and also his mother Roya. She was shot down by the US, her like Iranian plane, as she was leaving Iran, and his like struggles with that and trying to find answers, and also his father had died, I think, by a stroke not that long ago, and his like own immigrant experience in the US, and trying to make a better life for his child, and trying to see his child succeed and not just work these sort of like dead-end jobs, and the like casual xenophobia and racism, and also exploring sort of like the good immigrant, and like a lot is discussed. I can't fully think off the top of my head right now, but I've had like quite a lot of notes. I really need to go through and do all my book reviews, because I'm like so far behind. Beside the point. Anyway, then he goes to New York to speak with a woman called Orchida, who is like an artist, because she is hosting an exhibition at a museum. She is dying from cancer, and she's like basically sitting down and speaking with people about her life and life in general, and her like thoughts with death and things like that, basically. And he goes to like talk about this book he wants to write about martyrdom, and just like asking about like life and different things like that, basically. And we follow quite a lot. I'm not doing a good summary of this at all, sorry. And also exploration of like the change in Iran when his parents were younger, and the sort of like some of the freedoms granted to Iranians when they were that age, and then the like political turmoil that happened within the country, and the reversal of said freedoms, and also his uncle Arash, and he was basically like a dispensable person that like rode around on horseback, like pretending like acting as like an angel for soldiers to not kill themselves, and like trying to be like a message of like you need to suffer for your entry into like heaven, I believe. So yeah, so it definitely is quite hard hitting. There's a lot of talk about death, so life and who you are, and yeah, I would really recommend this book. I ended up giving this 4.25 stars. I didn't fully love this book and like some of the plot points and things, but on the whole it is definitely a book worth reading, and it definitely talks about a lot of things, so yeah, would recommend. And then for August, who did I popped off, didn't I read 12 books. One was an audio. It came out to 1,949 pages, which is the highest I've read so far this year, and 10.23 hours of audio book listening, which wasn't that much. So let's go through some of these. The reason I say that is because many from my Book is Euros videos, and I haven't filmed them yet or uploaded or anything, so I'm not going to tell you the plots or my thoughts or my ratings or any, because there'll be spoilers. And this video is probably long enough with just the books I read outside of that competition. But we started the month off with Open Heaven by Sean Hewitt. I gave this 3.75 stars. I was expecting this to probably be a 5-star. I was really hoping for it to be, but alas, still waiting on one. But this is his first novel. He is a poet, and when I first started reading this, I was like, this is why poets write fiction. It is so like well written, it's so beautiful and lovely and lush and descriptive, and like the nature in here is just beautiful, and also the like human condition, sort of things like that he talks about. But it's basically following, why did I forget his name? James. Oh my god, it's my name. Okay, so it starts with him like current day, and he visits his old like hometown in 2022, because the like farm that his first crush lived on for like a year was up for sale, and he wanted to like revisit the town and stuff. That's like the prologue, which is like that amount. It goes back to 2002, and James is recently like out as gay, and explores sort of like being gay in the early noughties, and like his relationship with like his friends and family and just like the town in general. And Luke recently comes to stay on this farm that he delivers like milk to, and the person he works with like talks to the farmer, and so he sort of gets in with them talking as well, and he is only there for like 1 year, whilst he's waiting for like his parents to sort of come and get him in some sense. It's like the uncle, I think, that he's living with, and he has his own like personal and like familial problems in a sense, but like James like sort of like starts to like him, and like a crush grows, and then a friendship between them as well, and then so on and so forth. I won't spoil anything, but it's really good at exploring sort of like how we change who we are, in a sense, who we're talking to, and the experience of being gay in the noughties as well. And James is like, he's 16, I think, and he's like budding in, like wanting to explore his sexuality and like other like what comes along with that, but he's feeling like repressed by his like situation and society in a sense, and what he's trying to do to move on, and how like he's quite like reserved and doesn't fit in, and maybe that's his own wanting to not fit in, but also the pressures put on him. But yeah, I think it was like some of the writing was so good at the start, and as it got along it maybe went down a little bit, and a few parts didn't really match up to how it started in terms of the writing style. But it was still good and decent. I feel like also it's a little bit ambiguous some parts, and you are sort of left with a few more questions than answers, which isn't always a bad thing, but maybe I kind of wanted a few more answers. But yeah, I would recommend this. I have more to say, but I can't think my head at the moment. But yeah, I would recommend. I would definitely read him again. I've got his memoir and I think maybe one poetry collection as well that I so badly want to read. His memoir, All Down Darkness Why, and so many people have loved it and like given it 5 stars, so I need to get onto that. But yeah, enjoyable, good, not great. For the Bookish Euros, I read My Favourite by Sarah Jolion-Fadel, and this is translated from French by Holly James. Tiamo by Hannah Orstavik, translated from Norwegian by Martin Aitken. The Night Guest by Hilda Knutsdottir, translated from Icelandic by Mary Robinette Kowal. The Union of Synchronized Swimmers by Krista Sandu, this is translated from Finnish by the author Krista Sandu. And A Luminous Republic by Andres Barba, and this is translated from Spanish by Lisa Dillman. So yeah, I won't tell you anything about them just yet. Need to wait until the Bookish Euro video comes out. Then I read The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang, and I gave this 4.25 stars. This is a graphic novel. It's beautifully drawn, like the characters, like the expressions, and just like everything is like really, really well done, the artwork in here. And I did really enjoy this book, but it wasn't like a favourite. It's basically following Prince Sebastian in like, I don't know the era, but like that, does that help you? In Paris, and he hires Francis to be his dressmaker, because at night he wears dresses and goes out to the salons of Paris and portrays as Lady Cristilla. And his parents, the king and queen, want him to find a bride, and he doesn't really want that. And then like having the dresses made by Francis, and like they sort of have their own friendship, and we explore some of her own like issues, and like her wanting to be like a big name in fashion and a new name, and having all these creative ideas, but she feels stifled in a sense because she needs to keep herself hidden from view, because doesn't want to be associated with the prince, who is also this fashionable icon of the scene in some sense. So yeah, so it does explore like that, and it goes along, and I really love like the friendship between the two, and also like Sebastian's sexuality and his gender identity are explored in a way, but they're not really crucial to the plot in some sense. You sort of like don't get the answers to, you know, is he gay, is he trans, is he, you know, what gender is he, because it's not really necessary, and I feel like that is done well. So yeah, I did enjoy this book. I feel like lots of people can also enjoy it. I would really recommend it. It's sort of like a YA audience, but don't let that stop you. And yeah, I'll definitely check out more by the author. I forgot to say earlier, but I also listened to Rosarita by Anita Desai, because it's an audiobook I sort of forgot about in my list. But I gave this 2.25 stars. What is the plot? It's basically a woman travels from India to study Spanish in Mexico, and then she's approached by a woman that's basically like, you're gonna spit an image of a woman I used to know, who she thinks is the main character's mother, who apparently had also travelled to Mexico when she was younger to become like an artist from India. And the daughter like didn't know anything about this, and she's sort of trying to think back to her past and her like mother, and sort of the place of women in that era of like India and like the world society in a sense, and her like relationship, like the mother's relationship like with the father and the family, and also like trying to learn more about herself. And it follows like these different conversations with this woman at thinks that she's the daughter. It's also like different POVs as well, and also like the type of person changes as well. Like I feel like it's mostly second person, which I usually like second person, but sometimes it's a bit, I don't know, I feel like it doesn't fit right. And then there's also like third person as well, I think. But overall I felt this book was quite confusing and hard to follow, and I didn't really enjoy it. I think there are some good parts. I think maybe if I had read it physically I might have been able to fully like tackle down with it a bit better than just audibly. But yeah, I feel like even though I'm giving it a low rating, could possibly still recommend it. I felt like it was fine. It threw up some interesting questions and like place of women and trying to find yourself. And I think like the sort of like a war, or I think the partition of India, like that time range is when the mother was like alive, I think. Honestly, I'm so sorry, I cannot really remember this book because I didn't particularly enjoy it. But yeah, I read it, so yeah. Back to the Bookish Euros books, we have Death at Intervals by Jose Saramago, and this is translated from Portuguese by Margaret Jal Costa. I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, translated from French by Roz Schwartz. And then The Dry Heart by Natalia Ginsberg, translated from Italian by Francis Freyane. Again, wait till the videos to hear my thoughts. But we finished with Girl Meets Boy by Ali Smith, and I ended up with a 3.5 star rating. When I first finished this book, I was like, I love it, like 4.5 stars probably. But then after reflection, I feel like, and also reading a few reviews which haven't influenced me per se, it just made me think of things that were sort of maybe in the back of my head but they weren't at the forefront after just finishing it. But this basically follows Anthea and Imogen, these two sisters, and it starts with them like going to see their grandparents, and the granddad tells of a story when he was a girl and he was like involved with like suffragettes, which is a little bit like, okay, like, so is he trans? But like we don't really get the answers to that. And then it goes further on, and Anthea is like doing work experience. I think she's like in her 20s, or she maybe just like had recently just got the job there, working with her sister at this sort of like, I don't know if it's like a marketing company or it actually is a water bottle selling company, but it explores that in a way, and someone like does this like activism graffiti on like the board saying like how like water is not a like a commodity, you can't sell it, it's, you know, a natural resource, it's owned by everyone, making profit of it is not like what nature intends in a sense. And this person called Robin portrays a sort of like genderqueer, like it's not like, I think like maybe they were born female, but their gender identity again also isn't essential or to the plot, or is really, you know, it's not given an answer because it doesn't really matter. But Anthea and they sort of start a relationship in a way, and then Imogen, like the second chapter is like from Imogen's perspective, and she's like talking about like, oh, my sister is gay because she saw Anthea with this person, and she sort of talks about like being gay and like the like lesbian and some of the like history of it, and how like it's a lonely, loveless life. And then she also meets with these two work colleagues, which are vile, horrible people. Oh my god, I literally hated them so much. Oh my god, I literally hated them. Spewing all this like homophobic, like horrible rhetoric, and also sexist and misogynistic and these vile remarks. Then yeah, it's hard to explain really a plot, because like it just basically follows these two sisters and then sort of other things in their life, but like the things it deals with is sort of like still, I guess, like the homophobia prevalent in society, and also like the like everyday misogyny and sexist remarks made by people, like sort of like exploration of gender, and a girl meets a boy and a boy meets a girl, and like what about like a boy and a girl and a girl and a girl, or a girl and someone who's not a boy or a girl. It's a remix of Ovid's Metamorphosis, and this is the Canon's like myth series of books, like adaptations. I also have the Penelope had by Margaret Atwood, and possibly a Norse one, but I'm not sure. Not sure where that is. And I got it in the library for 50p in like a sale, like it was withdrawn. And now I kind of want to collect the series because I really love the covers, and they just and they kind of sound interesting, the other ones. Back to the plot, but like I said, it also explores sort of like the commoditization of natural resources and things companies do and hide behind, and like their bad actions and stuff like that. But yeah, why I don't feel like this could be higher, and why maybe first of all I felt it was amazing, was because things get sort of tied up in a pretty little bow, and the good overcomes the evil, and I hope it's not a spoiler. Also, maybe I liked that it doesn't spark true to some of the realities, and people sort of switching their position like that makes you question things. Like, things do follow, but maybe I wanted a bit more or something, I guess. But yeah, I would recommend this. I think it's a mostly enjoyable book. It's well written. I would definitely check out Alison Figano. She's written a lot of books, but it wasn't like a new favorite. So yeah, that is my July and August wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it, and then obviously stay tuned for the Euros videos, hopefully coming soon. I do need to film them, and some other things coming. Anyway, hope you have a nice morning or night wherever you are in the world, and I shall see you soon. Bye.